fine details of a certain thing. I don't find that it's political or anything driven by that, and I in fact report to a PhD in food science, and it works out really well.
So in terms of advancement, will you be able to advance up into that person's position, or do you feel, are they looking for somebody in that position who's got a PhD, or can anybody get the job with enough experience?
At General Mills, it's broken up into, I would say, tiers. Okay, so you have what they call a technician tier, which is where I'm in, where you have either a bachelor's degree or lower, so associates, or maybe you work up from something and you spend enough time within the company and you're able to move up. Beyond that, you have what they call a professional path or a track, or however you want to describe that. And in that sense, it's your scientists. So instead of technician, you're called a scientist at General Mills, and that's a master's degree or a PhD to that. I think there are certain things that can get you, let's say, have a bachelor's degree, but you worked at a competitor, or you worked at a restaurant, and there's a specific position that's really wanting that experience. I think certainly I know that there's been negotiations for that. Even if you have that certain degree, you can be bumped up to a different level based off of that experience as well. So by looking at a product with a wider lens, I think formulating time and the time that's spent to kind of come up with either a gold standard or just a mental thought of what it is reduced, which is, and even eating where you are, time is money, right? So the less time it takes for you to do something, the more time you can spend doing something else. So I think that's what that really helps me speed up the work, and it makes me more of a valued player within, let's say, a PhD, who may have great aspects of molecular dynamics or different processes that will go into it, but they may not know what simply is a bechamel sauce or things that go into that nature. And so it helps me have that extra something, you know what I mean? And lastly, so gold standard recipes. Let's say that we wanted to, for example, this is a creamy butter mashed potatoes. Let's say that my business team wanted to have an evaluation of how does this stack, how does this product, this boxed product that you can pick up off the shelf and it sits on there for 8 months, how does that product stack up to a gold standard mashed potato recipe? And that's something that I think, having those culinary skills, I'm able to either go off of an internet recipe or just come up with a recipe on my own, and it's not too far off. So, so we'll go into this. I'm going to use the board even though it's kind of dark. But so this is a quick example.
Yeah.
Keep this painless as possible.
Potatoes are my favorite.
Quick example of culinology's influence on formula development. And so what we call recipes in the culinary world, in not only baking, but in General Mills, we like to call our recipes formulas. So I'd like you guys to think of what you think of as a loaded baked potato. Think about what all goes into a loaded baked potato. Not necessarily dry, but everything that goes into like a fresh baked potato. What kind of flavors? Do you think of?
Bacon. Bacon. Sour bacon. Sour cream.
Okay.
Bacon.
Chives.
Cheese. Yum. I love bacon. I eat them.
Salt,
Pepper.
I'm sorry, what? Pepper?
Pepper.
Maybe?
Yeah, pepper.
For sure. Gosh, little spice.
Speak out.
Butter.
Yum. Big potatoes for dinner. Okay.
That's great.
Loaded potato.
Great. Anything else?
Where are you from? India?
Potato.
Oh, these are great. So, I mean, like, so we have the concept, I'm sorry, what?
chili.
Powder? Or just chilies? So this is great. So, I mean, this is kind of the thing that I don't necessarily go through day to day, but it's something that when my team comes to me or we have a concept that someone wants to come up with, we get asked these kinds of questions. So we know that people like loaded baked potatoes, or we know people really like indulgent lasagnas, or things like that. So I ask myself, what specific flavors are within that lasagna, or are within that loaded potato? So what I came up with, and obviously they're not to this specifically, but they definitely include a lot of things that were said here. So potatoes, definitely. When we think of a loaded baked potato, it's potato based. But when you bite into that loaded baked potato, what specific potato flavors are within there? So when I think of a potato, I'm thinking like that boiled, that rich, kind of mealy, almost earthy potato. When you kind of bite into that kind of innard stuff. Sometimes it could be maybe even a fried flavor on the outside. And then you get kind of that, when you bite into that, if it still has its skin, you get kind of that earthy note, almost dirt on the outside. And that kind of describes what a potato is, but in a more broken down sense. So when we said cheese, which is great, definitely cheese is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. But what kind of cheese do we like on loaded? And some of these questions are driven by what I may think, or what my business team may think. But sometimes we go with certain recipes to our consumers and say, okay, what kind of cheese would you like on your mashed potato, or on your loaded baked? Is it just cheddar? Is it just Parmesan? Is it a mixture of the two? Or is it all of them? What to you as a consumer, what would drive you to buy this product? When you say loaded, what comes to mind? So my examples were cheddar, Parmesan, Monterey Jack, or blue, or ricotta. This can go on. Sour cream, chives, bacon, definitely on your list, which is great. I broke down bacon because I think bacon can be described in many different ways. I think there's like Canadian bacon, which is like ham kind of bacon, like that salty but not really brown kind of flavor. You can also get that smoky or hickory kind of taste from a bacon, or the pan dripping stuff that you can scrape off the pan and throw into your loaded baked potato. And then, so with extra dairy, like goes into the butter, the milk, and the cream. And then any special ingredients like breadcrumbs, or chili, or broccoli, or corn, or any other vegetable. Salt and pepper, obviously. Other herbs like thyme, or maybe basil, or maybe rosemary, depending on